Commission meeting. This meeting's being held via web meeting due to COVID-19. Members of the public may participate by following the instructions listed on the agenda. You may also view and listen to the meeting on cable TV, the internet, as far as the city's website, and YouTube. Following roll call during the summary of hearing procedure, will review how the public may provide comment during today's session. So for roll call, Commissioner Lardenois.
Here.
Commissioner Alawalia. Commissioner Barroso. Commissioner Cantrell. Commissioner Casey.
Here.
Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
Here.
Commissioner Rosario. And myself here. Staff for study session, I do not believe you need quorum. Is that correct?
No, you don't.
Great. So moving on, this procedure as follows. Staff will call out names of the public who identified the way they want to speak. You may identify yourself by clicking on the raised hand feature in Zoom, or click *9 if you're calling in on the phone. As your name is called, city staff will unmute you to speak. After we confirm your audio is working, your allotted time will begin. Each speaker will have up to 2 minutes, but potentially less if we have too many speakers. Speakers using a translator will have double the time. Planning commissioners may ask questions of the staff. Response to commissioner questions will not reduce the speaker's time allowance. Staff will, well, it really doesn't matter for this because this is a study session. And I think we're good. Staff, do we do public comment? Here we go. Roll call, some hearing procedure, orders of the day. So I guess we would be doing public comment for the study session, which again would have absolutely nothing to do with the study session. It should be something different under public comment. Do we have anyone raising their hand under public comment?
Yes, we do.
Excellent. Who would that be?
Okay, first I think was Deborah. Deborah, you are unmuted. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Deborah?
Perhaps maybe go on to the next speaker and come back to Deborah.
Okay. Martha, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I lowered my hand.
Oh, okay.
So are we back to Deborah, or is there a third hand?
We have some other hands. Paul
Okay, great.
Soto?
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I'd like a timer, please. I don't want to
There you
start until I have a timer.
Okay, the timer is on the,
I can't see it. No, it's not. I can't see it.
oh, can you guys see my screen?
We can see
can't.
it.
No, I can't. It's not on the screen. It's not visible.
It's
not
visible on
visible.
the screen.
It is not visible. No, it's not.
Are you on your phone or are you on?
No, it doesn't matter what I'm using. It's not visible.
It's
I'm just-
visible to us. Staff, do you
Well,
want to go on the
it's
next
not
speaker and
visible
we'll
to
come
me.
back?
I need a visible timer.
And staff, can you please promote Commissioner Torrance?
Sure.
I think Commissioner Cantrell is also waiting in the
Yeah,
attendees.
there's some.
Oh, yes, Commissioner Cantrell as well.
So staff, are we staying with Paul or are we going to the next speaker? If he can't see, we can just call it out, or he can keep time on his phone. Unfortunately, I mean, we all see the timer. We don't know what technical error might be having on the other person's part.
Okay.
Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. Go ahead. I would appreciate maybe a 10-second prompt.
No problem, Paul.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Go
Thank
for
you.
it.
I would like to announce to this planning commission is that at the Historical Landmarks Commission meeting, with respect to Souza, Suco, or whatever it was, right there on the corner of 4th and Santa Clara, it just, got completely shot down. They were just like, this is not happening. So I advise you to start listening to those meetings. I literally go to every single meeting, so I know who's lying. I know who's lying. I know who's not being, no, I won't use lying, disingenuous. That's the polite word. That's a polite way of saying it. So what I'm saying is that you guys know what's going on. I know what's going on. You see it. I see it. I'm the one that calls out, but I'm perceived as the bad guy. But yet the outcomes are legitimate. Every single outcome that I call is legitimate. They shot it down. It was unanimous because they knew that the historical integrity of that building, number one, was going to be compromised. Number two was the fear mongering that those dudes came in with, that somehow or another gentrifying these areas. And yes, we're going to rid crime if we just put up this building and rid ourselves of the refuse of the citizenry. But we need to start asking ourselves a question. We need to start studying euthentics, EUTHENTICS, euthentics. Euthentics is a science, which means there's predictable outcomes. Okay, and what it means is the creation of spaces and places as a precursor to eugenics. Now, we all know what eugenics is, okay? And euthentics is a precursor to that. So basically what this man was doing was applying the principles of euthenics.
10 seconds, Paul.
Thank you. In order to institute a policy of eugenics, which means you're ridding yourself and ridding the community of a particular race of people that have experienced redlining and historical injustices. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Who's next?
That was all we have.
So
unless,
did Deborah,
I
did we come
think-
back to Deborah or she's?
Yeah, she has not gone yet. Oh, you
And
can mute yourself.
actually, Commissioner Rosero, you are showing us Commissioner Torrance.
Yeah, I'll work to fix that with folks. Thank you.
Any other public comment, staff? Are we
No, that's-
closed with public comment?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, great. And acknowledge all the folks that have come. And let's see here. Okay, back now we're on for the study session. So this is the draft housing element update 6th cycle with Ruth Cueto, who will be presenting. And Ruth, do you plan on, is it 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes? What's your presentation?
40 minutes, but we'll try to cut that down to 35 if we can.
And Ruth, would you prefer all questions at the end, or do you have natural breakpoints? What's your preference?
Questions at the end.
Okay, great.
Okay. Let me see. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good evening. My name is Ruth Cueto. I'm a supervising planner overseeing the housing element update. I'm also working on this with Michael Brio and David Ying on the planning division. We also have members of the housing department here with us today, Kristen Clements and Joshua Ishimatsu, who are also part of the housing element team. This is our agenda for tonight. We'll give an overview of the housing element requirements, present our findings on these sections 2 through 5, and then discuss the timeline and approval and have some time for question and answers or comments. So the housing element is the city's official policy document. It's required by state law and incorporated into each city's general plan to guide housing policy. The current housing element expires next year, and the next cycle will go from 2023 to 2031, and it's due to the state in early 2023. In addition to fulfilling state law and refreshing our housing policies, the update is also an opportunity to have a conversation with San Jose's residents and stakeholders about San Jose's growth and development. This chart breaks down the city's new RHNA goals, regional housing needs allocation goals, to accommodate 62,200 new homes. It breaks it down by income level of the units needed. Just a note that for the first one, very low income, it also includes extremely low income. The second column defines how much of the total RHNA for each category the affordability is. So actually you would see most of our units will be under the 55% is that's all considered low income, very low income, and moderate income. It's considered affordable. And then above mod is what we call market rate. To clarify, the city's requirement for these goals is not to build the housing itself, but to plan to accommodate housing need by putting in place land use policies, taking actions such as zoning, and executing our policy and program work plan to further fair housing objectives and reduce barriers to housing production and preservation. Another note is that the entire Bay Area received 441,176 units as part of the RENA goals for the Bay Area. This increased about a third from the last cycle. San Jose received about 14% of the Bay Area's goals, and other cities in the Bay Area have received goals that are 3 or 4 times what they had in the last cycle. So our draft housing element document contains 5 chapters and several appendices, and we're going to spend the remainder of the time describing each chapter and the findings. Chapter 1 describes the purpose of the housing element and how the document is organized. The bulk of the chapter describes the public outreach and engagement process. We conducted multiple phases, each involving a range of methods for reaching and engaging community members. This aim has been to provide a variety of opportunities to participate and to address barriers to participation for underrepresented populations. In Chapter 1, we analyze these barriers and describe our efforts to conduct an inclusive process. It also summarizes what we heard through the process and what we've done to incorporate community input and feedback. We'll continue to evaluate and adapt the process, and we welcome your feedback on that. This is just another way to show the public engagement to date. Again, it was very important. It was a very important part of this process. San Jose has placed a huge emphasis on doing outreach to educate the community and to get feedback through a variety of methods, both from the general public and then subject matter experts as well. We also tracked feedback from these events. In addition to this list, we received 18 formal comment letters with 160 requests and comments on the first draft version, and received public comments through our website. The state's requirements are to hear generally from the community, but there is also a focus on very intentional efforts to hear from members of protected classes and their special housing needs. This is our timeline for the housing element process. Our housing element work actually began in 2019 with the Housing Department's Assessment of Fair Housing, or AFH, process. Initial findings from the AFH were presented to City Council in June 2021 and have been updated and are incorporated into the housing element document. We launched community outreach and engagement for the housing element about a year ago in September, and we've had a series of meetings and events over these phases. Right now, we're in phase 4, summer, fall 2022, where we have put out our first draft housing element document. We held the mandated 30-day public comment period and submitted our draft to the state as well for their 90-day review. We expect to receive the state's formal letter on December 15th. We also expect a total of 3 state review cycles, with the last one hopefully being more short and informal, as we take this plan to the formal public hearings, culminating with City Council review and approval in 2023. So with this, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Kristen Clements, in the Housing Department, and she'll walk us through the next 2 chapters.
Thanks, Ruth. Hi, I'm Kristen. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a division manager in housing, and I oversee our policy team and our housing commission and some other work. So I'll go through an overview of chapters 2 and 3 of the draft housing element and some of the appendices that are directly related to those chapters. Chapter 2 is a brief summary of the housing needs in the city and our current housing and demographic landscape, and it uses a fair housing lens. Chapter 2 is just a summary. It highlights a more detailed analysis that is in appendices A and B. Our findings here include that, of course, housing costs have been rising substantially in San Jose, and that the city is one of the most expensive cities in the country to live. For a city of our size, we have a high proportion of single-family homes, which I think we all know, including one of the highest percentages of residential land dedicated to single-family land uses. A large proportion of our housing stock was built between 1950 and 1980, when San Jose had its largest growth spurt. The majority of our growth happened before fair housing laws were passed. And how and when San Jose grew continues to influence our current conditions, especially in terms of segregation and how this impacts opportunity across different neighborhoods. Next slide. This slide outlines 5 major areas of needs for the housing element. We derive these from analyzing data and from public input at the many public engagement events listed on the slide that Ruth covered. The Housing Department started work to create its formal assessment of fair housing in 2019 under federal guidance and rules because we received dollars from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. But we eventually linked our assessment of fair housing work to the housing element as we realized how extensively California Assembly Bill 686 from 2018 had changed the state's required housing element contents and process. While the first 2 needs listed here are obvious to everyone who lives in San Jose, needs 3, 4, and 5 were identified through analysis with the required fair housing lens. And I'll say this is one of the first documents that I believe the city has put out that explicitly examines racial concentrations and segregation. Next slide. This is an overview of Appendix B, which is the assessment of fair housing itself. AB 686, the law that governs the housing element, says that not only do we have to do this in-depth assessment of fair housing, it says we also need to weave that analysis throughout analysis in the rest of the documentation. So to satisfy the state's requirements, staff performed a rigorous analysis of both the city's history and its current conditions. In addition, the housing element has to propose policies and programs that address the impediments to affirmatively furthering fair housing that we've identified. So it starts with this, the assessment of fair housing itself, which is included in the housing element document as Appendix B. Chapter 2 contains some of the highlights of the fair housing analysis, but again, the core of the analysis, which is quite lengthy, is in Appendix B. This is where we went through topic by topic as required by the state, the integration and segregation by race, disparities in housing and opportunities for different protected classes, demographics by different types of housing, an analysis of needs for specific populations, and fair housing enforcement and outreach. I think we brought to the Housing Commission, to the Planning Commission and the Housing Commission findings from this assessment, but just to recap a couple. By the data-driven measurements required by the state of California, San Jose is one of the most racially segregated cities in the Greater Bay Area. The patterns of segregation that exist in our current city are consistent with the same patterns of segregation that date back to the era of redlining in the 1930s and throughout our growth period during the 50s, 60s, and 70s. That history and our current reality of segregation means that there has been systemic underinvestment in specific communities, and that there's been generational disparities in access to opportunity and to wealth, and building wealth that continue to today. Next slide. This slide outlines the 5 goals for the housing element and the kinds of strategies that we organized under each one in Chapter 3. Goal 1 is that we need an abundant and an affordable housing stock to house all of our people. This is where the planning commissioners may be interested. You'll be finding production strategies and housing preservation strategies. Goal 2 is about having sufficient housing for people experiencing homelessness. 3 is about stability and opportunities to build wealth. So it has different kinds of issues that also pertain to planning, building, and code enforcement, such as the value of proactive code enforcement and renter protections. Goal 4 is about having healthy and thriving neighborhoods and having access to those neighborhoods by people of all different protected classes. And Goal 5, if we do our jobs right, is building towards a vision of the future where we would have racially and socially inclusive neighborhoods that have overcome past and present discrimination, even if it has been inadvertent or unintentional. The law tells us that jurisdictions need to redress past discrimination and overcome these patterns of segregation to make our communities more inclusive places where all types of people live, especially those in protected classes. The city received input on these proposed goals in previous public meetings and in a community-wide survey in our last phase of outreach. Next slide. Chapter 3 is where the many good ideas for what we are calling strategies reside. These are the ways that we will help to realize the production that's outlined in the housing element and to further fair housing. Appendix C describes the city's progress in the last cycle and how well we met our goals and implemented all the actions in that plan. Several of those strategies were brought forward and edited for this 6th cycle draft housing element. Appendix D provides an overview of San Jose's available funding for affordable housing and eligible uses. This is provided for context as to what is available to support the strategies and the production and preservation of affordable homes in the draft housing element. And now I'll pass the mic back to Ruth for the next couple of slides. Unless you'd like me to continue.
Yeah, did you want to go through?
That's funny because
highlight some
yes,
of these?
that's what I thought. Okay, that presentation was in there. Okay, so I'm going to just give you a handful of highlights from the different goals that we think the Planning Commission will be interested in. So again, Chapter 3 is the place where these we're calling them strategies. Some people call them programs, where they are all listed. And they're going to be morphing in format over time, but there are some interesting things of note in here. So first we'll start with Goal 1. The highlights that are listed here, the first reference number is the P for production and then strategy 7 in no particular order. But this idea, the first one is that we would establish a ministerial approval process for developments that meet the definition of infill for CEQA purposes, so that we could streamline production, streamline the entitlements process faster than we are now. And the way the draft is written, the question, and then we would like feedback on from the Planning Commission, frankly, is whether we should do this for all housing or whether we should really select this feature and focus on housing that seeks to integrate affordability. So market rate mixed with some affordable. Production strategies 3, 4, and 5 lay out in total what the strategies are for North San Jose. Michael Brio took that to council with some partners actually yesterday. And so if you'd like to watch the council item, you can pull up the video on that. But this is requiring not just the affordable housing overlays and the mixed income overlays to be created, but then also the housing department to subsidize both land acquisition and then loans for affordable developments that come to them. 29 is about adding a fair housing equity analysis to urban village plans. There is a displacement analysis that we have started to do for new village plans. But this one, we'll be looking around for examples of how to do that. So it would be looking at not just displacement risk, but also what are the attributes of the people who are in that area and how could we be matching better the housing stock to the people who are living in those areas and, overcoming challenges that they in particular have in that area. Strategy R4 is the community opportunity to purchase program proposal. The way it's written, we're not clear whether it would be, have already come to council by the time this takes place yet or not, but the community opportunity to purchase, the idea there is that when properties go up for sale, that nonprofits who are pre-qualified by the city would have the right to make a first offer, so that more properties end up in the hands of entities that are not profit motivated. This is a strategy to stabilize existing residents and create more restricted affordable housing out of what is today unrestricted affordable housing. And strategy R2 is for the city to support that effort, but in general, put more regular funding out through preservation notices of funding availability, as it does really well for new construction. But we've heard from anti-displacement best practices that there's no way to stabilize the existing residents in such an expensive and heated market that we have without hitting on all 3 Ps, as we say: production, preservation, and protections. Next slide. So that was just goal 1, and goal 2 is about homelessness strategies. I won't go through each one here, but there are a couple that do pertain to land use entitlements. H3 would have us look to make sure that there are not more things that we could do so that hotel and motel conversions for use for interim housing for the homeless or redevelopment for permanent homeless housing, permanent supportive housing, couldn't be made as easy as possible. And H4 is about making sure that codes don't prohibit shelter construction in a variety of areas throughout the city. The idea here is that people who lack permanent housing should also not be at a disadvantage because they are often in an industrial area where they don't have access to transit or any places to go to the drugstore or shopping or other amenities. 12 and 13 are really about making people with lived experience more at the center of what the city does and informing our strategies. Next slide. Goal 3 is about housing stability, and the focus areas are listed there. There are, I think right now, 48 different ideas here. Again, this is an area that is really something that the city has done some things in, but from the state's mandates, like we could be doing things better. And so some of the highlighted strategies you may want to look at. S3 would be to, as I said, increase the amount of proactive code enforcement because residents do get into difficult situations with landlords and kind of risk being evicted or informally evicted, as people acknowledge, when they call because there are deficits in their units and that there are code enforcement problems. So the more the city can be proactive in spotting problems, the more the residents don't have to be the bad guys and risk their own leases and their own tenure. S8 is talking about how can we do home buyer programs in a way that both accommodates the incredibly high cost of housing that we have and doesn't make the city broke, but also tries to serve groups that have really been completely underserved by our previous homebuyer programs. So we would be coming at this from a protected class, real fair housing equity lens, and also looking at alternatives to home ownership and home buyers, such as can people get savings, along with long-term leases that are stable to kind of approximate what they could get if they were home buyers, but had resale provisions that restricted the prices they could sell at. So there's a lot of work that we could do in this area, but it would be difficult, frankly. 17 is an idea that some cities have taken on, which is just like an employment law. If somebody would be banned from tenancy because of a criminal record and ex-offender status, it really only would need to be because of something germane to being a resident in that property. It shouldn't be just because they went to prison. It would have to be relevant to their tenancy. So, and then finally, there are a lot of folks interested in studying what would it look like for residents, excuse me, experiencing eviction court to be represented better, just like residents are in criminal court because it's a very lopsided equation right now. Most people, 90% roughly in our area, are unrepresented when they go to eviction court, and it doesn't go in their favor usually because of that. Next slide. Goal 4 is about neighborhoods, and what the state has told us is that not only do we need to foster fair housing choices, we need to make sure that people have choices in neighborhoods they might not have had choices in before, who are in protected classes. And also we have to think through to make sure that there are no neighborhoods where the living experience is really bad, where people in protected classes now live. So that's about how can we focus city investments and how can we think through where affordable housing will be located. So, and then, some other accompanying strategies, some highlights here, but the big one is N1, which is, excuse me, which is about how do we serve neighborhoods? And for those of you who are familiar with our Strong Neighborhoods Initiative work, having a neighborhoods-based focus and working with residents to kind of create local prioritized investment plans really has a lot of merit. And so the strategy would kind of bring us back to that a bit, but also have the staff organized in a way that would be conducive to serving residents better and in different neighborhoods, and not have us in silos as we try to together, hear about what the neighborhood needs across our many service lines. And 2, I actually mentioned before about anti-displacement analysis with planning. 4 is about having partners out there that can help us do this work. And 5 is really at the heart of what I was saying, which is affordable housing and higher and protected class housing. So for instance, senior housing, housing for the disabled, that needs to be in neighborhoods in higher resource areas and neighborhoods throughout the city and neighborhoods accessible to transit. Thanks. Goal 5. This is a lot to get through, so we're almost there. You're on goal 5, and this is about really thinking through special populations and then more structural systems issues, community engagement and how we measure our progress. And so how do we reach out when there's an affirmative marketing function to make sure that, for instance, disabled residents know about affordable housing opportunities, just to make sure they are being served. 4 is something that would take a data-informed approach to, like, who are our residents and how do we need to grow our housing stock and protect the affordable housing we've got by creating a report that kind of sums this all up and figures out the demographics and looks forward and makes sure we're not, for instance, losing a bunch of really deeply affordable housing all in one area, all within a few years. Like, if that were the case, we would really have to devote resources to make sure that did not happen. We should be measuring ourselves on our equity accomplishments and engaging the community regularly to hear their voices and to get their input on what they need. And finally, 11, I know this commission has worked a lot on about diversity on the Planning Commission. There is a general one in here, which is just about city bodies, including commissions, and how can we, just promote diversity of protected class members. Again, this is about making sure that the voices of people who have been underrepresented and are least likely to be represented are at the table, are in the power making conversations. Next slide.
Thanks, Kristen.
Now back to Ruth.
So chapter 4, we discuss constraints on housing production, both the supply for both market rate and affordable housing. The state requires that we look at non-governmental and governmental constraints in terms of these barriers. Some of the non-governmental constraints include financing costs, land costs, construction costs. In our analysis, what we identified were that there is a financing gap experienced by affordable housing developers. There's increased construction costs across types of projects, whether they're market rate or affordable, as well as resident opposition to new housing. In terms of the governmental constraints that we had to analyze, they were land use restrictions like our zoning, affordable housing requirements, impact fees and taxes. And in our analysis, what we found was that something, for example, like the building permit process for affordable projects was becoming a hurdle for getting these projects through the process, as well as our one of our major strategies in the general plan, the urban village strategy. So we're required to create responses to these constraints that we identified. And in addition, we also held focus groups with affordable and market rate housing developers to get more detailed feedback for this process. In response to this analysis and feedback, we developed these strategies, which are in our housing element document. The first one Kristen spoke about, which is developing a ministerial ordinance by right for specific projects that meet certain requirements. This would help with time savings and provide certainty to developers. The next one is looking at completing additional city-led CEQA analysis for areas such as urban villages with adopted plans to help speed up the environmental review of housing projects. This approach is similar to what has been done in downtown, the downtown area. And with an area-wide analysis, individual projects can complete their CEQA review more quickly. We also have a strategy to add a new position to the department, actually to the city. I'm not sure which department yet, but that person would facilitate affordable housing, especially through the process of obtaining building permits to start construction. This person would serve as a single point of contact that will help navigate the building division, public works, and fire. And it will complement another planner that we have right now in the planning division that helps with entitlements of affordable housing. And then lastly, with respect to amending the urban village planning process, we are proposing changes to streamline that process and essentially greenlight more areas of the city for residential development. This is a summary of our residential capacity to accommodate that 62,200 unit requirement under RENA. State law allows us to use housing projects that are already in the pipeline. We can use anticipated ADU development, alternative units, which are hotel motel conversions to affordable housing, and anticipated development. And that's our opportunity sites, which is the largest category, and it's the focus of this section. To hedge against the risk of projects not being developed like we expect, we did include a buffer, which is roughly 21% overall of sites. So we are showing that we have capacity for in total 75,484 units throughout our city. This is just a visual representation of our sites inventory. We have a link on our website where you can search the dots. The different colors of the dots are for lower income, moderate income, above mod, and then we have a few that we are identifying as mixed income, and those are in North San Jose. The methodology we used to identify these opportunity sites included sites that were consistent with the general plan within growth areas and sites that already allow for housing. City staff filtered for parcels that had characteristics more conducive to development during the planning period. While the exact methods vary depending on location, they generally included filtering out properties that already had multifamily uses, that were on our major development project list, that had planning permits issued within the last 4 years, had new construction building permits in the last 8 years, and were smaller than 0.5 acres. To calculate the realistic capacity of the selected parcels, the city leveraged the building blocks platform from Ptolemy, which integrates data from various city systems on a parcel zoning, general plan, urban village designations. We looked at allowable density and floor area ratios and historic planning and building permits. So the site inventory, it must identify sites to accommodate housing development throughout the city in a manner that affirmatively furthers fair housing opportunities. HCD advised us that this means that sites identified to accommodate the lower income portion of the RHNA should not be concentrated in lower resource areas as defined by the state's opportunity maps. And what you'll see here is that approximately 86% of our lower income units are in moderate, high, or highest resource areas in the city. And 4.8% of those of lower income units are in racially or ethnically concentrated areas of poverty. And this is just, again, a visualization, visual representation of the previous comment in terms of the distribution of sites by TCAC opportunity areas. And it's found in our draft document. So with the housing element update, we also have to include a rezoning program to ensure that all sites meet the statutory requirements and are suitable for housing. We have some sites that were where the zoning doesn't facilitate residential densities permitted under the general plan. So our team is working currently to remedy that. Yesterday, council gave us direction to continue with phase 2 of the North San Jose work, which includes developing overlays and other strategies to facilitate housing. The rezoning program will also capture this effort, and that work, the North San Jose work, will be concurrent with the housing element update. And then lastly, another part of our rezoning program is that for sites that we're using in this 6-cycle inventory for lower income households, and if they were reused from previous housing elements, we have to make those sites by right if someone comes in with a project that's at least 20% affordable to lower income households. So that work will be done. We would have 1 year, so we would have until January of 2024 to complete that work. Okay, next steps. So we are here, November 16th, our Planning Study Commission. We will continue study sessions with the Housing and Community Development Commission. There's an EIR scoping meeting on December 1st. We expect HCD to give us a review letter on December 15th, and then that will kick off another cycle of us reviewing it, updating our housing element as appropriate, and with a target of City Council adoption in late spring. We will come back to Planning Commission. The Planning Commission will provide us with a recommendation on the housing element prior to going to City Council for approval. And that is it. We are open for questions.
Great. May I ask you go back to goal 1 slide? And then do commissioners have questions on that slide? I think there's just so much information you've shared with us that, you know, having some level of focus would be good for our questions or comments. So Commissioner Cantrell?
Yeah, I'm just curious. You know, we use the word equity a lot, and it's in here a lot. How are we defining equity? What does it mean? Is it proportionality in representation? Is it a thumb on a scale to bring back balance? How do you define that?
Hi, Commissioner Cantrell. Thanks for the question. That is the question that everyone is grappling with on our journey to do this work better. Equity is not equal treatment. Equity is making sure that people have sound opportunities. And if that means promoting some folks in their ability to access opportunities, it's driving towards equitable outcomes, not just inputs, but outcomes. I know this is a long conversation, but.
Yeah, it is, because I like to have actual targets, something that we actually point to as a North Star and march in that direction. It just seems to me that I know this is complicated. You know, it's as complicated as life itself. But I think I'd like to see more definition of what it means and what are the actual targeted outcomes that we're reaching for. You know, that's all. Thanks.
Okay. Staff, does AB 686 define equity?
A good question. We should look.
I think it does. I can look through that right now, but to Commissioner Cantrell's point as well, in the draft document. And I think the feedback we're going to get from HCD is that with all these goals and strategies, we have to have metrics and milestones and timelines. So hopefully we will get to that when you see the next draft.
Great. Move
Yeah.
on to Commissioner Young, and we can keep coming back. So Commissioner Young, and I apologize for not calling your name in the attendance, Commissioner Young.
No problem. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I have a couple of questions, and one is actually on this slide. I'm interested in a little more detail on the preservation strategy, and particularly that R2 preservation NOFAs. I didn't quite understand that acronym, but also just in general, what are our strategies as far as preservation?
Sure. NOFA stands for Notice of Funding Availability. So it's like us advertising that there's a competition that's open and it's a certain amount of money to give away or to award by the city council. And there's a prescribed awards framework that one would apply under for affordable housing development proposals. And so the preservation, so again, we typically have done this about once a year for new construction, and how they're scored really reflects the priorities and policy thoughts of the department and the city as to what it values. So for instance, extremely low income housing units have been prioritized because we have so many extremely low income residents who are struggling. And so, so that would be weighted highly in the NOFA, in the framework. We have not been putting out funds regularly for developers to look at market rate buildings, which may or may not be regulated by apartment rent ordinance, and purchase those buildings and ask for city funds, and then put on restrictions so it becomes restricted affordable housing instead. So rather than building new, it would be acquiring existing with the goal of seeking to stabilize the residents that are there, rather than having other investors come in, purchase, and then increase rents radically. So that's what the preservation NOFAs would be. It would be about preserving lower cost housing in our markets by putting on restrictions and operating them with different rules. But
Great,
that'll
thank
take
you.
subsidy. Yeah.
Thank you. My second question, it has to do with eviction. And I know in housing, we're operating an eviction center currently. And I'm actually interested in a little more information on how that is working now, and also whether the housing element has any plans to enhance that. And in particular, I'm interested in, so if folks come in and they say, I may be evicted, and you folks try to help them, but it ends up during the process that they are, indeed evicted, do you folks try to get them into new housing in some way? Or if you could just talk about that a little bit, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. And actually a really good summary of what the city's been doing for residents who are on the edge of eviction and going through eviction process is in our anti-displacement regular status updates to committee. And yeah, it's been mostly to committee. So actually I could ask staff to send out the most recent one to the commission after this. It has like 10 pages of updates on different aspects of strategies that we're running. So the eviction prevention centers in there, but also we've set up a strategy with the courts in Santa Clara County to do an eviction diversion program that we sought grant funding for. Similarly, we were in the housing element. If you search the word eviction in chapter 3, you'll come up with quite a few hits. I came up with 13. But some of the strategies, there's an idea about a housing collaborative court, where if we could get that set up with a county, there would be staff there from programs where folks could get signed up for benefits right there. And then they would have additional resources potentially to negotiate, maybe not full payments, but lowered payments with their property owners right there. So, and then right to counsel is another eviction strategy. but really we're working hard on eviction diversions and helping people through the eviction prevention centers, just what to do if they get a notice. Also, we'd like state legislation to pass that would give the city copies of things from the courts. It's very hard to find out information about evictions. We only get notices on some units because they're under the apartment rent ordinance, but really it should be a much more open data system. So it might take legislation for that. So, so I will send that link to you and all the commissioners. It is a really good summary, actually.
Great, thank you. I'm glad that we're being proactive. It just seems that, you know, as much as we try to work as hard as we can to move homeless folks into housing, sometimes I think even higher priority should be preventing people from becoming homeless in the first place. So
Yes.
I'm really glad we're doing that.
Yes, and I should also say that homeless prevention services is a part of our Measure E transfer tax budget. We do fund rental voucher programs for people. We funded a lot of it during COVID. And while it's getting more regularized, it's definitely a budget item in our Measure E spending budget every year.
Terrific.
Yes.
And I just like to say, you know, close my comments is just commend the staff on this report. It's really comprehensive, very well done. I know it's taken a huge amount of work. The amount of community outreach is really outstanding. And I'd just like to say that I'm proud to be part of a city and a city government that really prioritizes housing, that prioritizes more housing opportunities for everyone in the city. I'm really very proud of that. And, you know, no surprise to anyone, but not every city in the state is like we are. I'm just really proud to be part of our city and our city government. And, you know, thank you to the staff for that.
Thank you. We take it really seriously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Lardnois?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I concur with Commissioner Young's comments there. And also, it's always great to have housing staff in our meetings. Some points in the presentation, you mentioned wanting feedback from the Planning Commission on a couple of things. Given this is a study session, we can't like take an action. Is this something you'd like, or were you meaning that in terms of like when this comes back to us later, or
No, now.
Okay.
Now is good, and we're taking notes. So this is the perfect time to give feedback. Later, it's pretty formalized already. So
Gotcha. Good to know. Okay. And then this question is not specific to these goals, so we get to it later if that makes more sense. But you know, there's been some media coverage about how quite a number of jurisdictions in the Bay Area, including the city of San Jose, had a different understanding than HCD did about the deadline, how the deadlines work for housing elements, and in terms of how and when cities might be subject to the builder's remedy. I'm just curious to get some clarity on like what happened with that. And again, not looking for blame or anything. I know a lot of cities had this the same situation, so I'm just curious what happened.
I'll leave that maybe for Ruth or for Robert to comment on.
Oh yeah, Michael's here too. Michael, if you want to chime in. But I don't. Oh, go ahead, Michael.
Reading the Planning Commission next agenda. What was the question?
All right. I was just hoping to get an explanation of like why there's been this contention between cities and HCD about when exactly is the actual deadline for housing elements to be adopted.
Well, right. So Lucy, no, go away. So I think one thing to keep in mind is that this housing element is really. Rena, can you get Lucy out of here, please? Thanks.
I take it that's a canine?
Yeah. Lucy, out. Come on, out.
Dog, not kid, right?
Yeah, that's not as curious.
Actually, it's the kid. Just kidding. Yeah, so this housing element is very complicated. There's a lot involved and it's all new. It's way heavier lift in the past. So I think a lot of cities thought they had more time to figure this all out and address, particularly of how they're going to address affirmatively further fair housing. Say that really fast, 5 times. And there's a lot of other requirements. And so cities, I think, have been really, I mean, I think only 10% of the communities in Southern California have actually got their housing element certified on time. Very few in the Bay Area are on their path to do that as well. And so I think when cities started to realize, like, oh my goodness, I think they were looking at the timing, and there was confusion. We were confused too about this 180-day grace period. And initially we thought that it was due January 31st, but we had a grace period of 180 days to then submit to the state. It turns out we talked to HCD and we found out that's not correct. Other communities didn't have that conversation, like San Francisco, and they sort of got the rug pulled out from them when they found out, when it was too late, essentially. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, and so I mean, I understand that it's not really possible for San Jose to meet that deadline at this point. And I saw the timeline that was laid out in one of the slides. I guess, yeah, I'm just wondering, like, what, if anything, can be done, because the builder's remedy is very much intended to be a punitive measure for cities that don't meet their obligations. And San Jose, I think, makes a good faith effort to meet its obligations under state law regarding housing.
Well, and let me just add one more thing. So just in all fairness to us, the governor signed a bill that added a couple more months to the process.
Okay.
It was done midstream. We were already on, doing our schedule, and all of a sudden this bill gets signed. We just added 2 months to the process. That's not the only reason. We still have some challenges, but we'd be 2 months earlier than we are now if it weren't for this bill that was signed by the governor. And mind you, this bill only applies to the Bay Area. It's not Southern California or Sacramento or San Diego. It doesn't apply to them. Now, it will next time they do a housing element. It's just that they were already they were done. So it's like, you guys, this doesn't apply to you now. It'll be again in 8 years. So we kind of got screwed in that regard. And so in terms of what we can do, I think that what we can do best is try to get this thing as quickly as possible through the process and get it to the state for certification. The other thing we're looking at, and this is more in Kristen's shop, but I'll start it at least, is that the other significant impact is that we'd be ineligible for affordable housing grants, as well as transportation dollars, because you need to have a certified housing element to be eligible for some of those grants. And I think one of the questions we have is we're still assessing, well, what grants might we miss because we don't have a certified element for 5 months or 6 months or 5 months. But also, if there are opportunities we're going to miss, how do you define, or when is the requirement that you have it certified? Is it the time of application, or is it the time of grant award? So we may be advocating with other cities to change the rules a little bit if we identify it's needed.
Yeah,
so basically the idea that you could still apply for the grants while you're not in compliance, but then if you're in compliance by the time the money would be dispersed, it'd be fine.
Right.
Yeah, that was our ask. We identified this issue early on, and there were certain programs affected from the Department of Housing and Community Development, and then also some that transportation access that affect housing plus transportation. We raised this issue really early this year with the governor's office and with leadership at HCD. And also regionally, we've been raising it with everyone who will listen. And actually, I think the state listened because they recently issued revised regulations for a couple programs that gives more flexibility. That basically says if we are in the process of going back and forth with HCD, we have a few more months of eligibility, even if the program deadlines are in there somewhere. So they did listen, and they took some actions where they could. So while they couldn't alter the deadline for submission of the housing element because that was in statute, we were successful on trying to get some rules for funding programs moved a little bit.
Glad to hear that, because I wasn't sure how HCD was treating the situation, so I'm glad to hear that there's an attempt at collaboration there. Thank you so much for outlining all the details of that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. And while we're on this topic, City Attorney, are we compliant or substantially compliant with our current housing element?
With our current, I believe we're compliant with our housing element. I'll defer to staff on whether we've implemented it or not.
So builder's remedy is not possible today in San Jose because we are compliant versus substantially compliant.
Right.
My understanding.
Compliant.
We're compliant now.
Yes, we're compliant. My understanding is the builder's remedy will occur in the future housing element.
Right, which would be
Correct. It could.
January, I'm sorry, not January 31st. It would be what, February 1st,
Starting February 1st.
whenever until that date you actually get it. I don't know if it's certified or when you submit it to the state. I'm not actually sure on that because those are two different things. The council
You can check with the city of Santa Monica because that's their issue right now. They viewed because they've submitted a draft, they're compliant, and now they're going to go to court over builder's remedy. So
Well, that's the point, which is that it's not quite clear. And so,
Right.
there are folks who will
there's
be.
no case law on
court.
builder's remedy.
Yeah, exactly. No one's used it. And so if somebody wants to get into a court case, they may, but we have good lawyers here. So, whatever. It's not that we're anti-development, and there are lots of webinars on this. If people want to watch, I can send you some links.
The legal brief that I read about it from attorneys, the land use law, they said it's very confusing, it's sometimes conflicting, and it's not clear. So that's why a lot of these builders remedy projects will end up in court, probably, right?
And then could you go back to the presentation, make sure we get those slides to give you the feedback? So it was up previously and then it was withdrawn.
I'm sorry, which slide did you want me to go to?
It was the first one that we had put up there where you wanted feedback. Goals, maybe?
Okay.
The one thing we had named that we do want feedback on.
Goal one, here we go.
Is this P7 item, which is, should we do this for all housing or should it be really for only housing that fulfills its inclusionary obligations with affordability?
Yeah, so could we explain
More.
Can you give a scenario what infill housing would be? Like, is this under an acre, 2 acre? Is this, essentially ministerially means it won't go to planning commission, it won't go to city council. So could you give an example of what that might be?
I'll defer to Michael or Robert.
Which one? I'm sorry.
P7.
Infill
P7.
housing, an example of what would qualify for infill housing.
Oh, right. So the way the state is now, the state is if you're 50% affordable or more under SB 35, which effectively means 100% affordable, you go through a ministerial process, right, where there's no public hearing and there's no community meetings. There might be, but you don't have to do them, no requirement. And then there's AB 2164 has that as well for
62, for special needs units. Yep.
Yeah, special needs housing. And so, but they only apply effectively to affordable housing projects. So I think one of the things we're talking about is could the city, could we create such a program for market rate housing?
Market rate with an inclusionary percentage or 100%?
That's the question, right, Chris? You brought that up. The question we're sort of grappling with is, one approach is you say, well, if 20% of the units are affordable or you meet IHO, the percentage, right? Then you get a ministerial process. But if you're just 100% market rate, you wouldn't. And I think the question is, do we go that route or do we say, oh, if it's only, you could be 100% market rate and be ministerial?
Yeah, I think community members are, once they understand and they are aware of some of the new state legislation and how there is no local control and there's no local process, I don't think that's very popular. So I just want to share that with that as you're, going throughout this process. On the integrating affordable housing in North San Jose, I think it also depends, there was a tiered housing development with jobs, and the jobs really never came to what was expected in North San Jose. So I think we always have to balance that, right? Because we talk about not having enough jobs in San Jose, and thus we are unable to afford to pay for city services. So we have to keep that in mind. So would take that feedback. And then on COPA, I watched a couple, more than one mayoral debate, and I know Supervisor Chavez and both Mayor Mahan were opposed to COPA, and they laid out several reasons. And I would say I'm in that camp as well. So I just wanted to provide feedback, at least on a portion of the items you're seeking feedback on. I know there's other slides that you want that feedback on, but I also don't want to take all the time because I see Commissioner Ornelas Wise's hand is up.
Thank you. In regards to P7, I would just like to chime in on that since we're talking about that. In regards, I do believe that we should do permit streamlining for affordable housing. It would have to include some affordable housing in there. The more affordable housing, the more, easier it should be. So, and it also, I think about the number of units because, if it's a large project and the impact it's going to have on the community, obviously the community wants to know. But we should, if someone is proposing something that's going to benefit the overall community by taking people off the street and creating housing, we should streamline it. So that's what I think about P7. I don't know what COPA, can you just review that, what the acronym was and what that was again?
That's the community opportunity to purchase. And it would be about when an owner chooses to put a building subject to the program up for sale, that there would be a pool of pre-qualified nonprofits that were experienced in affordable housing that would have the right to make an offer first on the property. And so, and they would be given a few days to do that before the market goes on the open market, before the building. And then finally, before somebody accepts an offer from the open market, they'd have a final chance to counter offer if they'd made an offer to begin with. So it's just about getting opportunity to see more properties up for sale because there's no one listing service for multifamily properties. And because they're providing a public good by trying to acquire buildings and stabilize residents and keep that permanently affordable. That would be the plan.
Yeah, I think that if there is, I know that there's so many wonderful organizations, some that are faith-based, some that are not, locally that have done a really good job with affordable housing and housing some of the people here that need it the most. Like I think it was the Emergency Housing Consortium or whatnot. And because of the fact that they've done such a good job, why shouldn't they have the first opportunity? I mean, they might not even have the money, but at least they have the opportunity to go if indeed they've been working and they know our community. I think that might be fair.
Thank you. And then there's a category for groups that want to emerge and develop more development skills by teaming with others, or, we have a community land trust that's developing, but really operate in the public interest. So thank you for your comments. I took those down.
Yeah, I did want to just ask a couple other things. You mentioned protected classes, and besides focus groups, did you all do any surveys for these protected classes?
No, we did. We used surveys to do general broad outreach for the community. And then we looked to see where the surveys were received from, and we did those in 3 languages. The protected class outreach was really about talking to members of those groups directly, so we could hear kind of in an intimate setting what they go through. And I don't have the data in front of me of how many focus groups, but it was something like 40 different meetings.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. It was 21 focus groups, and then members of the classes also came, and and the representatives speaking also for them came to strategy working group meetings, but also some stakeholder meetings. The 49, some of those were from like disability organizations, for instance, met with us a few times.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. While I was a graduate student at San Jose State in the urban and regional city planning, we did a lot of surveys on behalf of like the redevelopment agency way back in the day. So it would be good to maybe utilize some of the existing resources at the university to help, do that work. If you don't have the manpower in office to do that, use some of the students. I would suggest some collaboration there. of course, I would like to see some more affordable homeownership programs, maybe even some 55 plus affordable homeownership projects, maybe even some rezoning that would allow some, commercial high rises that have been maybe vacated for such a long time, like maybe the top 3 floors to be allowed to be senior housing or affordable housing. I've seen that done when I went on a tour in Dallas, and it was called the Pegasus, and I went up there and it was fantastic, and I thought it was a great model. Obviously, the concern of segregation was, is something that, I commend the staff for really bringing it to light and really doing what you can to make sure that that's not the case. And I know that sometimes affordable housing sometimes is, I don't want it to be concentrated in one area. And, I know I'm in District 7, and there's been a lot of talk about, the fairgrounds, and that's in District 7 too, so I went one time to a different city, I think it was Baltimore, Maryland, and I went to see this area, and it turned into such a ghetto. And I had a good friend of mine who was a planner who told me to go there. It was some market, and I was shocked that, we got off the subway, and it was like the hair on the back of your head stood up, like you needed to be careful. And I asked one of the police officers what had happened to this area that was like a historic area that turned into a ghetto. They had all these halfway houses and this high concentration of like low-income housing in all one area. So then it became a ghetto. So I really want to make sure that we don't contribute to creating ghettos by diversing this whole affordable housing throughout the city. Nobody wants it in their backyard. Nobody does. But this is something that we all have to deal with. And so it has to make sure that it's not just in one area. That brings me to some code enforcement stuff. I know code enforcement is like complaint driven, but there's certain areas where people do not complain and will not because maybe it's a cultural thing. And so maybe a little bit more outreach into these areas when it comes down to housing to make sure that people are not taking advantage of. So that's just some things. And then in regards to fees, for ADUs, I don't know. I know that then, you get to the, all the fees when it comes down to just putting the plans together, the architect, the engineer, or whatever you have to do, and maybe some consultants, and then you get to the finish line, and then you have this like, I don't know, $20,000 permit fee or more, and then there's school impact fees and whatnot. So, if there's a way that we could have some amnesty program or a flat fee, a one-time only, something that really encourages residents to take like maybe an existing illegal ADU or garage a garage that was converted into an ADU, to legalize that and get a permit without getting all these fees, because maybe there is already a lot of units that you don't even know about, you're not even counting, and are not able to say, oh, well, we do meet X needs, this exists, but because of financing or money, they're not able to come in through the door. So maybe like a really small flat fee, something that maybe it's like amnesty, if you come in this month, it's free. I don't know how many people was going to come in the door. I'm just thinking, what can we do to help increase those numbers for our city? Okay, those are just my thoughts.
Thank you. You actually named the last 3 topics actually are in the housing element. So you hit those issues. Siting policy would distribute affordable housing throughout the city, including in higher opportunity areas. Proactive code enforcement prevents what you're talking about, right? To just be able to do more of it, certainly in certain areas. And then, the ADU amnesty program is in there too. So brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Thanks, staff. Before I'm going to go on to Commissioner Young, but since we have this public outreach, I'd just like to make the suggestion that outreach be done to neighborhood associations. I'm a board member of a neighborhood association. It's been around 49 years, not one word of the housing element. And I still think this is something people, either they are unaware, don't pay attention to, et cetera. So that's just something I throw out there. And then we've
Thanks.
talked about protected class a lot. City attorney, who is not in a protected class?
Chair, if I could, we have been outreaching to neighborhood associations, and actually staff just went to a couple of neighborhood association meetings. So we've been working with council offices to try to be the interface on that.
Great.
I do have a list of protected classes. There's no chat. I can't put it in there, but I don't know if
But the question is who's not in a protected class?
Well, I go in this case, it may depend on what the statute says.
Uh-huh.
Generally speaking, someone in a protected class, you're looking at inalienable characteristics such as race, ethnicity, language, gender, things like that. But the statute here may specify what a protected class is and is not.
I can go through them if you'd like. It takes 30 seconds. Federal protected classes include race, ethnicity, color, and national origin, religion, sex, familial status, and disability. California adds everything covered by federal plus gender expression and identity, sexual orientation, marital status, and medical condition, which isn't usually, it's usually for employment law, but military or veteran status, age being over 40, genetic information, which is again, usually for employment status, and ancestry. And also adds now people who possess alternate payments for rent or rental vouchers.
Got it. So it sounds like the majority of the population, I mean, but something to talk about later. And then could we go on to goal 2 to get that slide up? And then moving on to Commissioner Young.
Thanks, Chair. Actually, could you go back to goal 1, please? The one that had P7. Yeah, I'd just like to, I'd like to say my own personal thoughts on this, which is I'm in favor of COPA. I think it's the right thing to do. I think building affordable housing is not profitable, so you're not going to see developers doing it, out of the goodness of their hearts. So I think that it's important when there's opportunities for nonprofits to build affordable housing, particularly supportive housing, to give them the first shot at it. I'm completely in favor of that. And as far as P7, I am in favor of ministerial approval of any project that has some affordable housing in it. I know Michael mentioned 20%. I'm not sure what the right number is, but and a comment was made earlier by another commissioner that this is not popular. That's not the point. It's never popular to build a housing project in your neighborhood, but we need to do the right thing. And this ministerial approach is one way to get that done, so that rather than these projects take years because of all the opposition from neighborhoods, et cetera, we actually get the housing built. And my last comment is just a process question. I know you sincerely want to get feedback from us, and you have heard from the chair and a couple of us. I'm just wondering, and maybe this is a question more for Robert, is there a possibility for you to send a survey out to the individual commissioners so that you can get that feedback back? And I'll throw that out there and then I'll close. Thanks.
Yes, Commissioner Young, we can look into that possibility.
Great. Thank you, Robert.
Commissioner Rosario?
Sure. I don't mean to repeat many things that Sylvia said, but I think quite a few of these in the housing element hit home with me. Proactive code enforcement. I've had friends that have been evicted after trying to report. Streamlining ADUs to the extent possible. Friends have been trying to build ADUs in their parents' backyard, not been able to do it, not been able to do it for a long time, having to leave the area. I think it was N5 affordable, putting folks in high resources areas. I know when I moved into an area in District 7 off of Kirtner and Monterey, it took me 20 minutes to drive to a grocery store other than grocery outlet. So a number of those things. Those are, and there are a number of others in the housing element that I certainly appreciate and like. I think to Commissioner Oliverio's point regarding who's not in a protected class, everyone's in a protected class because it just depends on how that class is used. So if you are a man or a woman, you're in a protected class. If you're a member of a religion, you're in a protected class. If you're not a member of a religion, you're in a protected class. So it's not like anybody is not a member of a protected class.
Okay. And I'm a big fan of Grocery Outlet, by the way. Let's see here. So now we're going back to goal 2, was it? Were there any commissioners as they have goal 2? Do you have any comments on these ones? Commissioner Ornelas-Wise?
Well, I'm looking at this and I like the hotel motel conversion. However, sometimes these hotel motels are in one concentrated area, like along Monterey Road, some of these old motels. So I'd also like to see maybe the facilitation of, apartments converted into affordable housing, apartments turned into condos so that it could create home ownership, so that it could improve an area, and maybe rent to own also as well. That's what I had to say about the hotel motels. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
And need to be cognizant of our next meeting and members of the public to speak. So I see a couple hands up from the members of the public. Elizabeth. And we'll limit these to 1 minute, just in case more people want to speak or there's more comments from the commissioners, because we obviously didn't cover all the goal slides. And there's Gary Smith's raised her hand. So who's up first, staff?
Paul Soto, go ahead and
1
unmute
minute.
yourself. 1 minute, okay.
Paul, I'll give you the 10 seconds if you want.
Paul, you are unmuted.
Paul? He's still muted. Maybe we can come back to Paul. We'll go to Elizabeth or Gary.
Okay, Elizabeth, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes. So I have a couple of things. One, I do take offense by one of the commissioners' comments, saying that this, like, asking the police officers, okay, why this area turned into a ghetto? Like, I have offense of that type of language and that type of terminology. There's so many complex things that lead to an area developing how it becomes, and so I just personally, like, honestly don't like that at all. The other thing I want to say was that especially when it comes down to evictions and the Eviction Help Center, I have personal experience. Last Friday, I received a 3-day eviction notice, and I went to the eviction center in City Hall on the 12th floor, and all that they did for me was give me a piece of paper that had the Homeless Prevention Systems number, and it had about 27 different agencies on there. I called every single one, and the response that I got back was that, oh, sorry, it's full.
Hey, sorry, your time is up.
And I know there's someone from housing staff, if they feel the need, Elizabeth had some concern if want to follow up with. So now are we on to Gary Smith, or who are you on, staff?
Yes. Sorry, Gary Smith, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, commissioners, and I'm glad to see Commissioner Lardner is there because he's a resident of West San Jose. I'm board member of the English Estates neighborhood just north of Prospect High School. And just at the District 1 Leadership Group meeting last Saturday, one of the former planning commissioners actually brought up his concerns about the density of the proposed housing under the new housing along Saratoga Avenue. It was his view, and he's been on the planning commission, that there's just more than called for. We're not against affordable housing. We're not against housing. We're not against people off the streets. But we know that, the El Paseo project has been approved, 11-story buildings. We know the traffic along Saratoga Avenue. We know that's a high-tech area. It's one of the Vision Zero concerns of about 12 streets in Saratoga. So we just asked you to pay a particular attention for Saratoga Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Who's next?
Paul, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, this is Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. One of the things that I want to talk about is that we haven't talked about redlining and the generational consequences that have occurred that have created this like we're fighting, like what do we do, what don't we do? And we also have competing interests. There are people on this planning commission that are beholden to developers. We know that. Don't act like that's not happening, because that's exactly what's happening. I'm not going to blame you for it. That's your hustle. That's your get down. But because I'm calling you out, don't look at me like I'm the bad guy. That's number one. We need to use the measure by which we have been treated with inequity, which is the redlining map. We get and extract that information in this generational impacts of the economic and political and social consequences from that. Then you use that as the measure. Okay, so I want to thank Commissioner Cantrell because you hit it right on the money. You asked the question. They cannot define what equity means in this context because they don't want to apply it.
Thank you, Paul. Who's next, staff?
I get on them, bro. I get on them.
Okay, Matthew, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, good evening, commissioners and staff. Matthew Reed, I'm the Director of Policy at Silicon Valley at Home. Just wanted to be really brief. Really appreciate the commission's questions and comments. I agree staff deserves a tremendous amount of support. This has been a long and difficult process. I think it's clear that it's not over. But having been close to the process, I can tell you that this city's been working very hard, and I think everybody is cautiously optimistic that the road ahead is a smooth one. But these discussions are really important because in the end, it's going to come back to you, and it's going to be a really consequential document for the city. Tuesday, council endorsed a staff proposal to make this part of a running version of what was the housing crisis work plan. So there'll be many opportunities.
Thank you, Matthew. Mary Helen Doherty.
Thank you. Speaking to you as a member of the Sacred Heart Housing Action Committee, and a special thanks and shout out to staff as well. Our members participated in the community input process. And a top priority that we would like you to keep some attention on is under Need 1, Chapter 3, Strategy 28, the right to counsel when you're in eviction court. We are talking about people who, and as Kristen mentioned, 90% of them are unrepresented in court. And they need that resource so they can stay in their home, and we prevent actually homelessness, and we preserve folks in their homes. So thank you very much for your work, and thank you again also for the inclusion in the state requirement for the fair housing analysis. That's a new requirement, and it's a significant one, and we appreciate that it's there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mary Helen. Well, we have 90 seconds before our planning commission meeting is going to start, so I'm just going to suggest we adjourn, use the bathroom, and we'll see you here pretty quick. Thank you, staff. Thank you,
Thank you all. Appreciate the conversation.